This is a wet balayage. You start off with wet hair. It can be from the shampoo bowl, and we are just shifting the tone of our hair just a little bit. The wetness of the hair is going to help not take too much color out of our hair, give it a slight shift that we need, keeping a lot of depth and definition, but without having to use foils. Why do you want to not use foils? Because hey, you know what? We want this to be quick, we want it to be super easy, and we don't want to take a lot of time foiling out our hair. So this is kind of the trick that you can do on your hair without having to really use a lot of tools. And then we're gonna go back into this back section. I like to weave and then keep painting it on the wet hair. The wet hair is going to help not lift too much. Obviously there's going to be water on my hair, and so it's not going to damage my hair. It's just gonna shift the tone of my hair just a tiny, tiny bit. And that's why I love the wet balayage. Let's do it, guys. For this wet balayage, you need to start off with, you guessed it, wet hair. I just got out of the shower. If you go to your hairstylist, they will be doing this at the shampoo bowl. But if you're gonna do it on yourself, just make sure you have fresh, clean hair and that it is damp. You don't want it sopping wet, but you do want damp hair. I did already put my bleach in my bowl, and I did roughly about a half of scoop, depending on how much hair you have or how much of the balayage or the wet balayage you want to do will determine how much bleach. I always use my Paul Mitchell Synchro Lift. I will link a product similar. A lot of you have said it's really hard to find, so I'll make sure I'll link a different type of bleach you can use down below. And then I am just doing 10 volume. 10 volume is perfect because we're just shifting it just a little bit to add a little bit of brightness. You don't want to use a really high developer, but you want to make sure you have a good amount of lift because it's going on wet hair. As I always tell you, I love my bleach to be the consistency of cake batter, so make sure it's not too wet. That is perfect. It's not falling off my brush, and it is the perfect consistency. Since we are doing this to ourselves, I'm gonna need to make sure I'm wearing a cape. That way I do not get bleach all over myself. Then you can also use a backwards bib. This one specifically is from Famar, and it will really help kind of protect your cape if you're gonna do that. Or you could just get this and not have to wear a cape, and it'll protect your skin or your clothes. I'm not gonna do that, because you guys know I like to live a little on the wild side. Again, you wanna make sure your hair is wet. This is a wet balayage. So you can also make sure if you feel it dries whatsoever, just respray it with a water bottle. And then you're gonna wanna make sure you are parting your hair on the correct side. For me, I always kind of part on this right side. And then you will want to section. I am gonna work my way from the bottom up to the top. I do only like brightness really around my face, so you're not gonna see me touch the back of this. I like to kind of keep that a little bit darker. And we are gonna do diagonal back sections. So starting from the top kind of temple, and then we are going to angle it back towards the back of my head. Use our butterfly clip and clip that hair out of the way. What I love about a wet balayage and who this is perfect for, this is going to keep a lot of brightness on the ends of your hair, but not mess with the interior darkness of your hair. You can also do kind of a root melt or a root tap. I have done a video on how to do that. Click the link up above and I'll take you to that video. But it's really great to incorporate both of those techniques if you're doing a wet balayage. You'll do the root tap first, and then you're gonna do the wet balayage. But we're gonna do this just on my hair being wet. As you can see, I have a lot of darkness already kind of inside my hair, so we're just gonna tip out these ends. I am gonna go get gloves. So since I am right-handed, I'm gonna put my glove on the left-hand side, And since you don't have to use foils with this, your hand is going to be the base of where you're painting on that balayage. So for me, I am going to kind of do just a little weave. This gives me a little bit more control since I am not using foils. And we are just gonna lay it on top of my hand, taking that bleach with 10 volume over the top of wet hair, because like I said, this is a wet balayage, and we're gonna just kind of go through and just take this up just a tiny bit into the hair. I like the hair closer to my face, a little bit brighter, so we are going to take that up a little bit higher on the hair, kind of close to my face. Then we're just gonna drop it down. Now we're gonna move on to the next section. Again, doing kind of that diagonal back, and clip this hair out of the way. So while you're doing the wet balayage, you wanna make sure the hair closest to your face is going to be taken up a tiny bit more. I like to keep the hair kind of around my face super, super bright. And so by taking the wet balayage up a little bit higher, that really kind of helps keep that brightness towards my face. By doing kind of a little weave, it's going to keep a lot of darkness still within my hair. And you want to make sure you're kind of smushing it into the hair. You kind of take your hand and run it up and down that section, and then you just feather it up. Since we're only shifting it a few shades, you do not have to worry too much about creating kind of lines. You just kind of feather that bleach up into the hair, up towards your root, and then you don't really have to worry about it because it's just gonna sit on for maybe 5 minutes. This is going to be kind of our last section towards this front, and then we will move on to the right side. Okay, so you can see I got kind of that big chunk right there, and all I'm gonna do is just take my glove and kind of smush it down into my hair, so that way we don't have kind of a big chunk of blonde, and then we'll take the leftover bleach on my brush and just kind of soften and feather that line out. Going up a little bit higher towards my roots, closer up on kind of by my face. And this is gonna create kind of ribbons in my hair, which I love the look of having depth in it, but still have that ribbon effect, so you can see kind of the dark and the light laying over the top, which is why a lot of people love balayage. It makes it so it grows out super, super well, but doing it on wet hair, you have a little bit more ease of doing the balayage because it's not foils. People who watch me foil my own hair, they say, how in the heck do you do that? It's so hard to do on your own hair. This way, you do not have to use foils whatsoever, and you just kind of wing it with your hand, and you kind of take that extra step if you're not ambidextrous of holding on to foils. And we're just gonna do exactly the same thing we did to the left side on this right side. Okay, and this will be our last section on this left side, because like I said, keeping it straight, because like I said, we're keeping it close to the front of my head. And we have our wet balayage on, and we're just gonna let it sit, like I said, about 5 minutes. Obviously, it took me about 5 minutes to apply, then we let it sit for 5 minutes in process. It's perfect for those clients, if you are a hairstylist, or even if you are a client, to just add a lot of brightness super quick at the shampoo bowl. It doesn't take hardly any time, but you will see a drastic difference of keeping your ends brighter and blonde. It's also a great way if you feel like your blondes are starting to kind of get a little warm, or if you feel like they're just not showing through. So if you've ever had blonde hair, you know sometimes you will notice it just kind of looks like one color. You've had highlights, your hair is maybe all blonde all over, but the longer you go without tipping out those ends, it starts kind of blending in. You start looking like one color. So doing it this way, it's going to add a lot of pop, a lot of brightness on those ends without damage because you're doing it on wet hair. All right, let's process and we'll come back and show you the end results. All right, here it is. So as you guys can see, super bright bands of blonde, but then you still see a lot of depth in there. So you can still see a lot of my dark in there, and it just really kind of brightened up my blondes. You can see they're a lot blonder than what they were before. And then same with this side. You can just see kind of those ribbons of super bright blonde around my face, and then kind of just mixed throughout my hair. By weaving it, you still do create kind of those darker interior kind of lowlights from my natural hair color, but without having to add lowlights in it. So you can see those super white, kind of bright blonde wet balayage sections that I did, and then you can still see kind of the depth and the darkness. Perfect to just kind of brighten it up. You can do it throughout the back, but you guys always know I never really touch the back of my hair. It's harder to do on yourself, and naturally I just like it a little bit brighter around my face. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment box below. What do you think? Pretty quick, pretty easy, hand paint. Honestly, not that hard, and something that I think you can do on your own hair. Just remember, I'm a professional. So if you have not dabbled in hair color at all, leave it up to the professionals, but I'm here to help. So if you have any questions, please ask away in the comments and I'll help you out. Or check out all my social media. We'll pop them up on the screen and you can go get my DMs if you need any more help. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.